You won't catch us sleeping through the fight at night.
Thank you for listening to the Awakened Radio Network at awakenedradio.net, where we invite you to join us for the Prosperity Game. You can win prizes. You can also discover the easy, quick, surefire ways to allow prosperity into your life experience. The Prosperity Games are ongoing on the Awakened Radio Network. Check out our front page, awakenedradio.net, for details on the Prosperity Game. You can win prizes by calling in, by being in our chat room. You can even win by leaving comments in our forum. We've got all manner of ways for you to join us to play the Prosperity Game, where we all win and live beautiful, wonderful, on-purpose lives. Join us for the Prosperity Games at awakenedradio.net.
Welcome. You are now tuned in to Your Unfolding Senses on Awakened Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ragazine. This show is all about opening to and listening to your full intuitive capabilities. I offer tips and techniques such as meditation, dream work, and more for relaxing and connecting to your intuition. I'm on the air Thursday at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. This show is brought to you by intuitionbyrob.net, helping you to connect to your own inner wisdom. Please enjoy the show and invite your friends. Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in. It's 10 p.m. September 19th, 2013. I'm Rob Ragazine, your host, author, and explorer. Your Unfolding Senses is all about opening to your own inner wisdom, and we're all intuitive. On this show, we're talking about the tools and techniques for centering, connecting inward, and learning to truly listen, with, of course, a focus on helping you define the methods that will work for you. So feel free to call in and ask questions or comment on the tools that work best for you. You might ask about tarot, numerology, dreams, or any kind of intuition-based question, as we're talking about intuition tonight. I get a lot of different questions, so tonight's Q&A time to answer some questions and look at some tools that might help with the questions. You can join us in the chat room at awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat tab, or add Awakened Radio to Skype, or of course call 334-649-7204. Thanks for tuning in to Awakened Radio. If you've missed the great shows that are on before me, I hope that you can make some time in your life next Thursday to listen to those shows, because they're all awesome. Now, as you're listening, you can use this opportunity to suspend any doubt or disbelief around intuition, dreams, coincidences, at least for this next hour, as we're connecting inward and making time and space to listen to our hearts and begin to pay attention to them. And gradually this space can unfold out into your outer life, and that's what we're talking about here. How can we open up to intuition, and how can we use it on a daily basis? But with that in mind, I invite you to take part in the brief meditation. And if you can't do it safely, just listen. If you're operating machinery, driving a car, wait till you get home. You can bring a question that you've had in mind for a while. If you've been wondering about the answer to the meditation, you might light a candle. And as we're talking about intuition, and if you have a question around intuition, you can focus on that if you like. You might ask, how can I begin to truly open to my intuition? How can I stop being afraid of it? Anyway, those are some questions, or use your own. and allow for a phrase, sound, word, symbol, whatever, to come to you during meditation. Don't feel like something has to come to you in one way or another. Many people do see images, but other people hear words and phrases. We all open to our intuition in different ways. And we'll talk about that too as well tonight. But making some space tonight for the meditation, so finding a comfortable spot and sitting down or lying down and closing your eyes, making sure that you're comfortable and beginning to breathe slowly and gently, releasing any doubt or stress from the day, and breathing gently deep into yourself, into your heart. Let go of any doubts or any worries, continuing your breathing. And if you feel any stress in any particular area, breathe into that area and let go of that stress. And you may spend some time breathing into that area if you need to, but continue along with us if you're ready. So letting your mind quiet and your body rest, feel yourself filling with peace and tranquility, bringing your focus to your heart and having a sense of wonder about what it has been asking for. You might also bring your hands to your heart and allow your awareness of it to deepen as you continue to breathe and settle into the stillness. Feel all of your senses open, grow, and deepen, and know that this is a special place where you can clearly hear your own inner voice, however it speaks to you. Could be colors, could be shapes, could be images, might even be a smell. Be mindful of how this space feels. You might ask a question or notice any messages available now within this space. Your inner ears might hear a word or a phrase. Your inner eyes might see a color, shape, or picture. Your inner nose might pick up a fragrance. You might notice other sensations as well. Simply pay attention to these. If you don't understand what they mean, ask for deeper clarity and allow for whatever comes to come. And if nothing does, that's okay. Don't force anything to happen, just allow it. Rest in the stillness and inner peace. This could be the very thing your heart has been yearning for, so notice how your body feels in this time of comfort and stillness. Continuing to breathe, especially into those parts of your body that feel tight or stressed. Allow yourself to feel the comfort of this space and be grateful for it. Know that you can come here anytime, and as we prepare to leave, continuing to breathe gently, releasing any last stress or doubt, and feel gratitude for this connection and any messages you received. And slowly bring your focus back to the room and gently open your eyes and come back to your body. Now, if you received a message during the meditation, that's wonderful. If you haven't, we'll probably have time to do another meditation and connect inward again. But know that you can begin to do this on a regular basis for yourself. Now, last week we talked about busyness and slowing down and stillness and making time to truly connect in with you. This week we're talking about common intuition questions, and we'll get to that in a moment. But since this week we're having the harvest moon, I'd like to talk briefly about that. I guess you could have seen the full moon last night, but still it's pretty full tonight. And I was just looking out the window, but I couldn't see the moon. It seems like it's cloudy where I am, but if you have the opportunity to go outside and sit under the moon, that could be a great chance to do some interesting meditation and connect to your intuition in that way. And I had a quote from Robert Lake Tom, who wrote about lots of Native American traditions, and he says, "The ancient myths and grandfather stories teach us about the complex symbolism and interconnectedness of all things in nature. The circle, for example, is one of the main symbols that can be used as a means of maintaining this interconnectedness." So with that in mind, you might meditate under the moon and think about your relationships. And it could be that simple. Maybe something will come to you about improving them or some way to deepen them, and that could be a good way to connect with meditation and connect with nature all at the same time. You could also write a list of things that you're grateful for. You can take a walk and just notice everything that you can see that you might not recognize if you weren't outside at night walking with beautiful light. And you might also use this to read tarot and connect with the energy of the moon in that way. Now, on to the Q&A. And one of the common questions I get is, I'm confused by my intuition. Should I always follow it? Well, if you're confused by it, then how can you follow it? So it's beginning to find simple steps that you can take to begin to follow your intuition. So you might start out with a pendulum and ask simple questions, yes or no questions, and ask about, should I go out to breakfast with my friend this morning? Should I don't know, whatever simple question that doesn't seem too dramatic, doesn't seem too big of a step for you if you're confused. How do you know you're getting the right answer? Well, there is no right answer. It's about learning to trust that this answer that you're receiving now can be helpful. And we'll talk more about that kind of guidance later. But always be discerning and understand the difference between what's coming from your heart, the wisdom from your heart, and perhaps ego needs, what your ego wants. So review your thoughts, your imaginings, your emotions, and be discerning. If you're constantly negative, then it might be that this intuition is more connected to ego and not necessarily connected to your heart. You know where your heart has always been leading you, so notice whether it's leading you in that direction or it's leading you in a direction that you feel you have to do now. For instance, there's always some detachment required. So if it's something that you feel fear around, like it has to be done now, or there'll be no time, not enough resources, not enough help, whatever it is, not having enough of something, and acting on this intuition now is likely ego-based and probably not helpful to follow now. Just wait. So good guidance might be to ask yourself, how can I make use of this to lead to an improved life? How can I use this to deepen and allow my life to unfold in a way that is healing, that is a step forward in the direction that I want to go? How can I be happy? How does this support and honor my life? And if it seems like it does, then that's when you know it's truly your intuition and not fear or ego. And it starts with the small steps. So you might ask something that seems kind of silly, like, should I get that taco? Or should I go to the restaurant and order lunch? And we might not even get a serious answer, but maybe you'll get, if you're working with tarot, maybe you'll get a card that represents the fact that you'll meet a person, or maybe it's the fact that by going to lunch you'll see a book or have an experience that helps you to meet the person within you that's represented by that card. Anyway, it's truly recognizing where the guidance is heart-based, and that's how you know when it's best to follow your intuition. The next step would be to learn to let go of any doubts or beliefs, to be detached, and know when you're being reactive in a situation, when you feel stuck. For myself, I usually feel myself getting tense, and then I know I'm in a reactive stage, and finding a moment to just breathe or center, if I have time to meditate, can definitely help. If I'm at home, I can do a longer meditation or creative projects to step out of the moment, and then I can feel that even if I don't have an answer right now, the world's not going to end. And maybe when you're in a reaction, especially with someone else, you might think about walking away, or if you're in a store and it seems like you have to purchase this item right away, walk away, at least temporarily. Maybe count to 5 or having a time out before stepping into that reaction. And for me, I find good guidance that's always rings true is if what I want's not there, I don't have to go and buy something else. I can walk away and wait to purchase it if that's what I'm reacting to. Even if it's food, even if it's something small and innocuous, it doesn't matter. It's that I'm thinking that I want something, but it's not there, so now am I going to go and react and buy something else? No, not necessarily, if you're paying attention, and that helps with your intuition as well, because now you're more aware of how you're reacting, and you're present, practicing being present in the moment. So helps us respond better rather than stepping in to the reaction. Now, in the Northeast, we're here in a time of transition, at least in the Northeast and, well, some other areas of North America, as the weather is getting a little bit cooler where I am. And as a personal challenge, it might be fun to just be with the weather. All too often, we use it as an excuse to enter into awkward conversation. It snowed today, so you might actually use it to ask a concerned question. Did you clear your walks? For instance, you might ask someone, do you think you might like some help? Rather than saying, oh, we got 5 inches of snow and it's yucky, or whatever you would say. But whatever is real and appropriate for you, mainly to be real, to be in the moment, to be in the relationship. So how can you be present and talk about the weather in a way that keeps you present, keeps you focused, and it's not being absent, not simply reacting to the moment and not detaching, being truly present. And in this way you can learn more about how you do react. So people get on the elevator, they start talking about the weather because they feel awkward, they feel out of sorts. So to truly notice your own reactions and relate to it from that perspective. And this helps to see what's going on inside, and now you'll be better able, at least eventually, to connect to your intuition, because now you can start to pay attention and sort out all the jumbled feelings and reactions that are happening inside. Now, of course, you could have someone yelling directly at you, and you might ask, well, how can I be detached and step away from that? Well, simply noting that this is painful in your mind, saying, I want to run, I want to get the heck out of here. So maybe even saying out loud, you're making me want to scream, and breathing and doing whatever you need to do to center and notice any tenseness or anger that you might have, and allowing it to move appropriately, not bottling it up. I'm not saying to be physical with this person, but to allow your body to process these feelings and let them go, rather than just stuffing them somewhere. And it might be that you need to go and outside and stamp or do something that helps you to release this after you've had this encounter. So being present in multiple ways here to start to notice how you're in reaction, how you can either avoid connecting inward, or how you can better step into yourself and be present and be available. Now, next question, as it's related to the busyness I was talking about last week, how do I find the time to listen? I have a full schedule. I just can't listen to my intuition because I don't have any time. Well, that's silly, because you could be listening to it all the time. So there's multiple steps that you can take to be more self-aware, to reduce this time pressure that you feel, including being more aware of yourself, being aware of how you're reacting, as I was just talking about before. So tuning in, so when someone gets on the elevator and starts talking about the weather, you might instead ask, how do you feel? And that might help them to momentarily step out of their own awkwardness and recognize that you're truly asking them an honest question. So while you're driving, you might try to turn off the radio and perhaps sit in silence, or if you absolutely have to, listen to something. You might bring your own CDs, or listen to your phone or the satellite radio, which I use, or nothing. But lots of people can't handle that, so something that's disconnected from the radio, the constant stream of chatter on the radio, which keeps you disconnected from yourself. And you might also try driving when there's less traffic on the roads. I start earlier when I want to get somewhere, so I have extra time. Not always, but most of the time I leave earlier, and then there's less traffic. Especially now, when school has started and you get behind a bus and then you react saying, why am I stopping at every stop when I could have left earlier? So just to notice how you are in your reactivity, and if you allow yourself at least once the opportunity to leave earlier, maybe you won't have that particular situation, whatever it is. It could be the bus, it could be getting behind a large tanker, or any typical encounter that normally gets you annoyed with the situation. Just to recognize what those situations are and how you might alleviate them, and to give yourself more time to begin to listen to your intuition. I was just reading today that if you're commuting an hour to work then each day, then after 8 weeks you've worked an additional week. So if you start out earlier, your commute might last a little longer. That seems a little bit simple, I guess, but perhaps looking eventually for something that speaks more to your heart, especially if you get a lot of stress during traffic and driving. If you like driving, that's a different story. If you like driving, you might use the red lights and traffic jams as an opportunity to relax and to do some breathing, for instance. So that can help you to connect in to notice where stress is in your body and start to begin to relax that. And then maybe you want to start to practice some mindful-based stress reduction, but that, of course, you can't do driving, or some other longer forms of meditation. It's all about creating the time and the space in your life for connecting in with your intuition, but it's recognizing that you actually do have time if you're willing to find it, willing to create the opportunity to see that it's already there. So we're coming to the half-hour break. If you have any questions about intuition that you'd like an answer for, you can call in to the show at 334-649-7204, or call in via Skype by adding Awakened Radio, or type a question into the chat room. And my focus tonight's really on looking at how we let ourselves be blocked or confused around intuition, and then we fail to utilize it in our lives and then feel guilty or feel upset. But you don't have to. It's about connecting inward and making the time and the space to do so, regardless of how much time that you have. And you can practice self-awareness, being an outer observer, and there is always time for that. Always time to step back and say, wow, am I reacting badly, or I'm reacting wonderfully, however you want to put it, but don't try to label it. Try to just say, I'm reacting in a powerful way, and leave it at that. Wow, I'm reacting in a powerful way to this situation. How can I be better in this situation? And you can do that by being more mindful and truly trying to connect in rather than slough it off like, oh, I'm angry with this person, so I'm always going to be angry, rather than asking them honest questions, as we were talking about the weather, like, do you need help that with your drive or your walk? Perhaps if you help them, they might help you in the future, and it might help to strengthen your relationship. But feel free to call in and leave comments, and we'll talk about those particular questions, or even if you had a particular dream. And when we get back, we'll be talking about the difference between being psychic and being intuitive, and again, looking at ego and desire on a different level, because that's a lot of what keeps most of us blocked from truly connecting in, because we get attached to the fear and the outcome around the situation. So that's why I've been talking about reacting, to notice our reactions and to step away from the reaction, and then you'll not be so worried about what the outcome will be. It might still be important, but you can see it as an observer, as an outward person who can see more than just one particular possible outcome. There can be multiple paths and multiple directions, but when we're caught up in fear and doubt and worry and all the stress, we start to lose ourselves, lose our identities, and then we start to panic, and our intuition isn't any help to us because we're disconnected from it. So we'll talk more about connecting back in, noticing our reactions, and being more aware of ourselves when we get back from the break. And if you have any questions about how to do that or anything else, please do post in the chat, make a call, or contact us through Skype at Awaken Radio. So thanks for joining me here tonight. When we get back, I'll talk more about this.
We're all as open, showing our inside.
Awakened Radio at awakenedradio.net. We really are more than an online radio station. We're more like a family, working together as a team so that we all succeed. If you'd like more information of how to host your own show, how to get your message out to our global listening audience, come on over to awakenedradio.net. Look at the top under the banner where it says services. Check us out. Or you can add Awakened Radio to your Skype and just message Donna. She'll be more than happy to talk to you about how you can join the Awakened Radio family and share your message, your passion with our ever-growing global audience. Peace.
Awaken Radio Network is a radio station focused on reminding you how powerful you are. Our hosts share on self-healing, politics, UFOs, spiritual awakening, and everything in between. Join us in the chat room at awakenradio.net or listen on your mobile device through tunein.com.
Welcome. You are now tuned in to Your Unfolding Senses on Awakened Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ragazine. This show is all about opening to and listening to your full intuitive capabilities. I offer tips and techniques such as meditation, dream work, and more for relaxing and connecting to your intuition. I'm on the air Thursday at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. This show is brought to you by intuitionbyrob.net, helping you to connect to your own inner wisdom. Please enjoy the show and invite your friends. And we're back, and if you have any intuition questions, please do join us, and I'll be happy to work with you. Now, as I was talking about going out in the moonlight, Donna had mentioned in the chat room that was a good night to take out your moonstone with you. So if you have inkling to work with particular stones and crystals and you can't cleanse them with water, this might be a good opportunity to clear your crystals by bringing them out in the moonlight. Now, a common question I get about intuition is there a difference between being a psychic and an intuitive? And I really think this is a question that's coming from a place of disempowerment, because now you're looking at handing your power over to someone that's the best that you can find. Is a psychic better than an intuitive person, and or vice versa? And I don't think so. I think we're all intuitive. That's what I've been talking about. You have to make time to listen, but first you have to make that time. Second, once you develop your skills, you'll have less dependence on the need for a psychic or intuitive or a medium, because now you've developed the skills for yourself. You might go once a year for guidance, but again, you can acquire the skills that you need on your own and not hand power over to someone else, and then you're stuck in fear about not having enough power yourself, or about what they've said or didn't say. Why not just create the life that you want in the first place and use your intuition like a rudder for guidance, for getting you to the place that you want to be? So be your own expert. You can use the books and other materials as reference, but start under your own steam. So just to begin to notice for yourself where you are handing away your power. And a lot of times when people ask me that question, that's where it's headed. They want to find someone to do readings for them when they could be doing the readings for themselves all along. And we have a question about reading the tarot for yourself. So that's what I was talking about, doing something simple with intuition. So you might start with a pendulum, which gives you yes, no, or maybe answers. And you can start out with the tarot by used to be that you can pick one by seeing the cards, and I guess we don't have as many large bookstores as we used to, but I do have seen in Barnes & Noble, I have seen many different decks, so even if you still go to the large bookstore, you can actually go and see lots of lots of tarot decks, and I don't know if they're comfortable with you opening them, but you can at least see the box and read about it and look at the imagery on the outside of the box. So pick one that you're comfortable with, first of all. And a lot of people start out with the Rider-Waite deck just because it's readily available, but now with online shopping, I don't know which deck people are tempted to get on a starting basis initially when they get their first deck, because now there's so much variety. But I really recommend starting with that one and then following your heart and moving out to one that speaks better to you. But there's some really strange and wacky decks that I don't recommend because they're not even tarot anymore. They're just somebody's images that they've put on a deck of cards and called it tarot cards. So find one of the decks that's close to the Rider-Waite deck, at least at first. And when you get more experience, you can branch out to some of the more richly detailed decks, like the I'm losing it, but there's tons and tons of decks that you can use with that look like a vision board almost. So you can start to use some of those if they speak to you. But there's so many to name that it wouldn't do anybody any service to start naming them anyway. So you can gather, even I had actually written down that I was going to talk about this, so gather random photos or tarot cards or other collected imagery and put them in a box or a bag and start to pull them one by one. So if you have a question, go through a magazine and pull out the pictures that speak to you, or put your tarot cards in there in a special bag and pull out one and see what it inspires in you, see what it triggers in you, see if you have a reaction. So if you don't have a tarot deck, you can just use random images that you find in a magazine or online and work that way and see what the images mean to you. And of course, always journal them, and over time you might notice a pattern, like pictures of dogs, for instance, might speak to you about self-confidence, about companionship, and other things, of course. But those are two aspects that dog represents for me. So it might be something else for you, but just to notice how the images speak to you. It's not that hard. And it's best to work that way anyway. So notice how the images speak to you. Notice how the colors speak to you. Some cards are dark and dreary looking and they feel heavy, and other cards are bright and cheerful. And just to notice that in the cards. So I always recommend starting out by reading just one card or one image. So if you have a question, to pull that one image out of the bag or that one card out of the bag and start to work with that. And first, notice the color. What colors are there? Are there prominent colors? Maybe there's lots of yellow, for instance. So you can ask yourself, how does yellow make me feel? And write down the answer. Do I have any memories around yellow? And I was just writing about this as an exercise that I'll post to my blog soon. And I started to remember that when I was younger, my family would always play wiffle ball during family reunions. And it was always there. I didn't necessarily like to play. The bat's yellow, for anyone who doesn't know what it is. It's a yellow plastic bat and a yellow, a white plastic ball. And You can buy it pretty much, at least here in the Northeast, at any store. Used to be, they'd stock up at the springtime, even at like 7-Eleven or something. Anyway, it was simple, inexpensive, and kept the kids occupied for days and hours. And we'd have it there, and we'd always play. And the more important thing was, I recognized that although I didn't like to play, it was about the interaction, the socialness, connecting with my cousins, connecting with my relatives and friends. And it was always there all during the summertime, even into the fall. So yellow for me speaks about that on an unconscious level, but now that I've thought about it, it's also there. So something that I can think about when I'm reading a card to see how that card might be speaking to me about relationships and about being connected on a deeper level. So that's kind of a long-winded answer about how to start to work with the image on the tarot deck. So again, in brief, notice the color, notice the shapes, notice the people, notice the context in which the image is in, and you're only pulling one card to start, but to notice that in many of the decks there's an ongoing story, to wonder where you are within that story. If you pull a minor arcana card, the 2 is at the start of the story, whereas the 9 is towards the end. And to notice the major arcana cards, I'm talking about major themes, archetypes, and to notice what's the story in that card, and to look to in your life if you've experienced situations similar to that. And a lot of the cards seem threatening, seem really destructive, but to think back to your memory of the situation that the card reminds you of, and to see how you experienced it, what was your outcome, and how you got through. And to keep notes and to keep a journal about this for yourself, and over time build up your own tarot dictionary. And you'll see that when you actually go out and get a book, that you've already written about what the author is speaking about. A lot of it's about feelings, emotions, connecting inward, and learning to trust yourself, learning not to be afraid of yourself, to be able to face your shadow, and to begin to integrate what the cards are talking about in terms of healing, in terms of shifting your life into your life. So most importantly, always notice how you feel before you pick an image, as you're picking the imagery, and after you pick it. And there was a neat study that I was reading about, and the gist of it was that prior to seeing random pictures, the participants in the study had body reactions before they even saw the picture. So if they were going to see a pleasant picture, their body tensed up. If they were going to see a positive picture, their body relaxed. And some level, I guess the research was showing that they knew which photo they were going to see even before it flashed on the computer screen. So it's all about understanding that it's not just the card, it's our life. It's what's happening in our life. It's not just an image. We're all connected, and just ask yourself, as Donna was talking about earlier tonight, what if? What if I am the card, or what if I know more than I think I do? And to recognize you know more than you see. We know even before we see the card. And a fun exercise to try to just see how connected we are to the outer world. This was in a book I was just reading about noticing a particular car or whatever you want to notice. So pick a color. I picked like sandy brown, and as I was leaving a parking lot, I said, I'd like to see sandy brown cars. So I saw like dozens before I even left the parking lot, when I don't typically notice that color. It reminds me of the late 80s for some reason, I guess because it seems kind of boring to me, the color itself. And these were new cars, old cars, cars in between. So just to notice, for instance, maybe you don't like or have a reaction to like navy blue or dark green, just to notice all those kinds of cars and see what happens. I was seeing clumps of them. This is dangerous, so don't try this at home or while you're driving. Clumps of 2, 3, 4 at a time coming down the highway, and that's distracting, so it's not good, so I stopped. If you have any questions on the tarot or the images or how we're connected to them, you can call in. We're kind of running out of time, but you can call 334-649-7204 or add Awakened Radio to Skype. Now, sort of related to what I was talking about before, the question is, how can I tell if I'm just hearing something that I really want to hear or really connecting with intuition? So are we connected to ego and desire? Well, intuition is our knowing sense. So you're going to just, a lot of people always say, I just knew it. I just knew that was going to happen. And it's in your heart. You feel good about it, or you just knew it. It's rock solid. And of course, people are always thinking that, like the movies, they're going to see an internal movie or get vivid imagery in their head when they have true intuition, and then that's how they'll know that it's true. But it might just be a knowing or a sensing or a seeing, where you see it in your mind or feel it in your heart. Of course, you just know. And there's, I want to say, 5 basic types of intuition. So you have what they call clear seeing, which of course is what's the most popular that people think they're going to have, which is the clairvoyance. So you're more likely to have it, I guess, than if you start to notice, for instance, do you dream in color, or are you already a visual person? Then you might be leaning towards that being your strongest. Now, there's also clear gustance, which is people who receive information via taste have that. And so you might taste something metallic in your mouth, for instance, when someone's in trouble, I don't know. Or if you've had this experience, you might call and talk about it. There's also clear alience, which is smell, and then clear audience, which is the hearing. And then there's also psychometry, which is where you can pick up an object like a set of keys and tell something about the person who owns those keys. And there's also the sense of touch, and we can go on and on. But those are the core, typical ways of knowing. And it can seem overwhelming at first, but keep at it and take care of yourself. And just to notice which ones are strongest for you. And if a particular one is strongest, keep finding ways to try to develop it, listen to it, spending time connecting to it and not being afraid of it, but also make some time to try out the other ones. A good practice might be through mindful eating, to blindfold yourself and pick like fruit or something simple and start to, of course, do this safely. Have someone that can safely give you like a raisin or a strawberry, and you can put it on a spoon and sense what it is. Maybe also block your nose so you can't smell it, and then try to intuitively deduce what that object is as you're eating it, well, before you eat it, because you'll notice a grape or a raisin or a strawberry. But just to begin to notice if your smell is strong, maybe you can determine intuitively that it is a strawberry and not a raisin. But a lot of people get hung up again in the stress and the doubt and the worry. So there are things that you can do to calm down, to nurture yourself, and of course we talked about stillness and busyness last week and being mindful of our food in the previous weeks. So those are some steps to really calm yourself and be able to connect to your inner self, and you're open to your intuition. But you might also really give yourself a massage or Reiki on a regular basis. So maybe learning about Reiki, and then having an opportunity to share sessions with people. Or you can do other simple things to unplug, like stopping your TV watching. So watch less TV, perhaps, or maybe none. And also get away from the computer screen as frequently as you can. So taking regular breaks, and then spending time outside, like tonight, with the moon. And then, of course, there's the food. So whatever's nurturing for you. And there's so many crazy diets to just start to pay attention to what your own body needs and eat that food. And as long as you're doing that, it shouldn't matter what you're eating, just that you're nurturing yourself. You might also try like essential oils or incense, especially while you're meditating. But for some people, that could be irritating, so you don't have to do that necessarily. So there's plenty of ways to really calm ourselves and reduce our stress and step away from being overwhelmed by life, being overwhelmed by the fear of what our intuition might bring, and to start to do these things and to wonder why you're not doing them now. And I had a question, I guess a comment in the chat room. Someone's outside in the moonlight with the crickets singing, or is it a screensaver? I think it's a screensaver. Well, that's pretty cool. With a moonlit screensaver with singing crickets. So nurturing yourself that way, since you're already at the computer. Why have an annoying picture? Why not have a picture of the moon? That might help you to remember times that you've been outside in the moonlight and to be in that enjoyment. Oh, Susan mentions that she's actually outside with a laptop in the actual moon. So there you go. To be outside too can definitely be rejuvenating and help you to calm and connect with the moon and the moonlight. Now, another question is, I think I'm opening to my intuition, but I don't understand it. Well, again, it's making time to be curious about the symbols that you're receiving, and if you don't understand a particular symbol, you can always ask to be shown another one that can explain what it's truly meaning. And you can have a conversation with that symbol. If a particular animal, for instance, shows up in your life in a series of recurring events, like you might see a golden retriever crossing the road every morning, you might begin to wonder, what does that mean for me? Maybe it means that your heart is calling for a dog to enter your life at a very simple level, and to recognize that it's right there. Not that one necessarily, but it's already in your life. You just have to open to it, to allow the dog to come in, and it could mean other things. I'm just being very basic here. Now, we didn't get to all the questions, so more questions and answers next week, as we're at the end of the show, 5 minutes left. So tune in next week for more questions and answers, and email me or Twitter me your questions if you'd like them answered, and I'll answer them on the air. If you'd like to visit my show page or my forum page, you can do so by going to intuitionbyrob.net, clicking on the media button, and I have links to my forum page and my show page and the Awakened Radio store, where I've just added a few meditations, and Facebook and Twitter you can all get to from one location. And of course, you can donate to Awakened Radio by coming to the main show page, and the donate button I think has been located to the sort of the middle right of the page. So if you're so inclined and you've enjoyed our shows, donations are always greatly appreciated. We're here at no cost to you, so please find it in your heart to click the donate button, and we're appreciative of anything that you can offer. You can also sponsor Your Unfolding Senses or any of the other great shows here at Awakened Radio with a 30-second spot, and the sponsorship will be played at the start, middle, and end of all the shows. And then when we archive our shows, we leave in the sponsorship, and it's a great opportunity to have yourself spread out through iTunes, and it'll be there forever. And we have just published this month's issue of Thrive Magazine, and if you'd like to contribute to next month's, October 10th is the deadline, and we accept spiritual-based and wisdom-based articles, art, and poetry, or whatever else that can get put into a PDF. And please do feel like you can contribute, and we share your website links in the magazine when you contribute. We also are having an open house on September 29th from 11 a.m. Central, I believe, until 6 or 7 p.m. Central. And this is an opportunity to meet the hosts here at Awakened Radio and to meet other listeners at the station and to learn more about the station. And you can call in and spend 5-10 minutes on the phone talking about yourself, what you do, what you'd like to see more of here at Awakened Radio. So please do feel free to call in and chat with us on September 29th. Thank you for joining me tonight. If you have any questions about tonight's show, then please do feel free to contact me via email, Twitter, Facebook, or the forum. And we're starting to get comments in the forums, so please do feel free to talk with us there, and we really like it when we get feedback. And again, my site is intuitionbyrob.net, and I post about what I'm talking about here on the air, and all about intuition and healing and numerology, and you can learn all about that via my blog posts. And you can also follow my Twitter and Facebook accounts from there, so please do follow me, and I respond pretty much to everyone that shares my links and communicates with me. So thanks for joining me tonight. Please do come back next Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern 9 p.m. Central. Thanks again.
Won't catch us sleeping through the fight in life. We're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are